Hi guys, it's Sherry. Today we are going to be making a statement necklace, and I got these cutters in my harvest box from Create Along, and I just thought they were so beautiful. I really want to work with them and make a statement necklace. So I have my yellow clay, and then I have my green clay, and I have it rolled out to my thickest setting, and I also have the rubber stamp that came in the harvest set, and I'll put links to everything because you could buy these all separate. But look how beautiful that stamp is. I absolutely love this stamp and these cutters. So let's get started on this. The very first thing we're going to do is we will press our rubber stamp into our clay, and I want a nice impression on these, so I'm going to use my roller. And I'm going to lift up, make sure I got my impression. Beautiful. And I'll do the same thing to my green. I like to press it on first just to make sure that I have it securely on there so it doesn't move when I roll it. My next step is to get my saran wrap. And I will lay it over my pieces here. And I'm not going to press too hard on here. Now I know I want my main piece to be the green one because I love this green. This is actually a piece of my scrap. What I ended up doing was I have this forest green, and in a previous project I just took about half a block and then I cut a strip of yellow and blended it together, and that's the green that I got, and I love it. I think it's so pretty. So my main piece, my big piece, is going to be this green one. And then I want to make sure to cut out my small ones here. And I'm going to kind of play around. I'll show you in a minute. I'm going to make sure that these are cut all the way through. And of course we have to have matching earrings, so we got to make sure that we have plenty for our earrings as well. Put that off to the side and put this one off to the side. And we don't need any of these middle sections, so we could pull those up. Forgot my big one. Okay, so the very first thing we want to do is make sure that we have our earring ones put to the side. So decide what color you want your earrings to be. You can even do one of each color, which I think is a really cute idea. And then I love to just smooth out all my edges right away. It saves on having to sand down the road. And I'm not going to make this perfect because I will just run my little sander over this. I just want to get most of the pieces kind of smooth. And look how beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. I love this one. I have a small little section stuck in here. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to kind of lay this out and see exactly how I want this necklace to lay. And then I'll kind of build up from it. So how do I want, so basically I'm going to lay this out and see how I want to connect all my pieces. You want it to lay nice and even. I'm thinking that would be about what I would do right there. Something along those lines. So I would connect it something like that. So then I could have a green pair of earrings and then I could have a yellow pair of earrings. Next I have my pan pastels. So I'm just going to use my finger for this, and then I will go over my yellow and just rub right onto the design. And if you get too much like this one on here, don't worry about that, because after it's all done being baked, some of that will brush off. So don't overly worry about it. The only thing that's going to stick to your clay is what's on the actual clay. So if some of it's built up, it'll brush off. And then I have a bright yellow. All right. So I am very happy with the way that looks. I think it looks absolutely beautiful. So my next step is to pop these in my oven. I'm going to put these at 275 for a half hour because they are all Primo clay, and then we will come back. All right, guys, so all my pieces are out of the oven. They look fantastic, but I would like to put a back on these. So I'm going to do something a little bit different because I love making everything double-sided. So I rolled my yellow clay out to my middle section of my pasta machine, and I did the same thing with my green. I'm going to carefully lift this. And what I did was I got one of my silk screens. And this is my burst and floral. I'll put a link in there for you. And I just rub it on, make sure that it's on there nice. And then I have my black paint already from my other one. So I'm just going to go right over my piece again, spread it out nicely. Doing silk screen is so easy, and it leaves such a beautiful impression on your pieces. And then you just carefully lift it up. Look how gorgeous that looks. That black and green look beautiful together. And then the next thing you want to do is make sure you rinse out your silk screen completely right away, because if that paint dries on there, you're going to ruin your silk screen. So go wash it out or put it in a tub of water right away. Okay, so now we want to make sure that all our paint is 100% dry before we do the next step. So let that completely dry, and once it's dry, then we will put our backs on and proceed to the next step. My pieces are now completely dried. Let me get these off. You want to make sure this is dry because now we're going to be flipping it upside down. So you don't want the paint to rub off. So I'm going to use my mat here to help secure everything nicely and make sure that my tile here doesn't texture the front of it. So I am going to take, actually, let me trim up my piece here so I know I'm getting all my print and that's it. But I am going to take all my green, and that is what I will be, I am going to take all my green and I will be putting yellow on the back of that. And then my yellow, I will be putting green on the back of that. So I want to kind of do the opposite. I want this piece to be really different from my original pieces and just have fun with it. Now, I am not going to use the cutter for this. And the reason I'm not going to use the cutter for this is because I want this right here. I want the circle to be full. And the reason I want the circle to be full is because I am going to be putting resin in this. So I need to carve around, and this is going to be a little time consuming, but if you really want something that's unique and different, it's worth the time. And I am just going to carefully take my blade or my X-Acto knife and just go around. And I'm going to kind of line my pieces up of how I'm cutting them, so this way I can match them up easily. And remember, it doesn't have to be 100% perfect, because we are going to be blending the clay on the piece. The lovely thing about clay is you can really maneuver it and make it work for you. And just hold your piece down so you know that it's not going to move, and you could cut it nicely. That will go with my big one. And I'm just going to lay these right next to each other so I know which goes with which. And it is the same cutter for the most part, but a couple of them I did use because the smaller ones come with the double-sided ones, so they are slightly different. So you want to make sure that you're able to line them up nicely. And now with the green one, we want to kind of line these up before, because my green is much smaller. So I want to make sure I line these up before I start cutting to make sure I have enough space to cut everything. And okay, I just want to make sure I have the print on everything here, that I didn't have to trim my piece up. And you have to peel these off because we do have to put adhesive on these to make sure they stick completely together. So when you're pulling them apart, just be careful, because you can see they're kind of sticking here. Now I have my Sculpey oven baked clay adhesive, and I'm actually going to just put this adhesive right on the back of the baked piece. And then I will rub it on. I had a lot on that one. Okay. So once you know that it's nice and coated, take your piece and you're going to line everything up. And then start pressing it together. And I am going to press this the best that I can without over touching my print. This is why you need it to be really dry, because if it's not really dry, you will smear your paint. And then I'll get my silicone tool, and this will help me press it real nice and tight into the edges here, so it has a nice clean finished look. I love having the clean finished look. And then that is what we will have. So now I need to do that with every single one of these. So I'll show you one more time, and then I'll pause my video so you don't have to watch me do every single one. So just take your tool, smooth it out on the tops and the edges. And you always want to make sure the back looks really good too, because now this is going to become a double-sided necklace if you choose to, or it just has a beautiful look on the back. So you want to make sure your back looks just as pretty as the front does. Otherwise, we could just put a plain black on and it wouldn't really be that much of a big deal. Okay. So that's how you will do it. So I will finish up all these pieces, and then I'm going to put them in my oven at 275 once again for a full half hour. And then when that's done, we'll come back and we'll do the next step. My pieces are out of the oven, and I did another step I'm going to show you, but look how gorgeous that looks. How beautiful did that turn out? So the next step that we are going to do, and I jumped ahead, but I am going to show you every step that I did to create this piece, is I have my chrome markers and I highlighted all around my piece. So you're going to need a tiny one to get in to all these little crevices here. So I'm just going to kind of brush over, and I like to just get the crevices first. Make sure all that little area is covered, because if you don't have something small to get in there, you'll see the color and then it just doesn't look as nice. So to have a tiny skinny one like this is really the ideal thing. And this set, or these oh my goodness, these chrome markers actually come in a set of three different sizes, which I absolutely love, because most of them will just come big, and this one actually comes with this size, a medium, and then the larger. And I'm going to show you the larger one because I use the larger one after I do the insides here. So you can see I'm just getting the inside where I know my big marker is not going to reach. And I love to finish off all my pieces with these markers, because it really just puts a finishing look on them, and it looks so pretty. And I also love the fact that it gives it that look as if it's encased in metal. So it just makes it look and stand out a little bit. It makes it look more professionally done and helps it stand out. So once you have all your insides done, then you're going to get your big marker. And this just goes really quick. So you just take it and finish the piece off completely, going around all your edges real nice, and it's going to give this beautiful shine to it. And I wanted to kind of do this ahead of time so you didn't have to sit here, or I didn't have to record the entire process, because it just takes quite a while to complete it. So then I took the tip of my marker and I'm just going to outline the very top of my piece. Get it. So that way it looks like it's completely encased in that metal. I'm getting around all my edges, even the corners. All right, so now you see how beautiful that is. And then I took the back side and did the same thing. So that way, the front and the back is completely marked up as if it has a piece of metal surrounding it. And it just gives it such a beautiful, clean, finished look. I really cannot express how much nicer it looks when you do something like this. And then I'll just set it down and let it dry. My next step was doing my resin. So I will show you, this is what I did. And look how beautiful that looks. Absolutely gorgeous. So I did that with all of my pieces here. So they're all done, but I'm going to show you how I did that on this one. And I took my resin. I love J. Diction. And I'm going to put some right in the middle, and I'm not going to fill it up. I have my crushed glass here, and I thought silver would be perfect. And then I'm just going to take my tip here and blend it all together. And then I'll put just a little bit more resin on top. Make sure it's all nice and blended. I'll do the same thing to this one right away. So you see I just put a tiny bit in at first. And this one doesn't need as much of the silver. Put a little bit more resin in there. And I like to put the resin right to the top, but I don't want to fill it up right away, because you got to remember that the silver takes up some of the room too. So I don't want it overflowing. And then I'm just going to take my knife and make sure all my pieces are in there. Kind of push these back in. And then I will put this in my underneath my UV light. And then we can start on the next step. So look how pretty. These came out so nice. I'm super happy with them. Put my resin away. So now we just got to decide what we want for earrings and what we want for, what do you call it? What we want for our earrings, which ones we want for our earrings and which ones we want for our necklace. So I'm going to use those two for my earrings. And then I got two of the yellow ones. So those two will be for my earrings as well. And then these will be my necklace. And here they are. Let me take off the extra glitter. Look how beautiful. So the very last step that we have to do is put our gloss glaze on. So I used the Sculpey Satin Glaze. I already put some on here. And then I'm just going to go over. And this dries fairly quick, so we won't have to wait a long time. If you get any on your resin, just wipe it off. So I'm just putting a light coat on, nothing thick. I want this to dry fairly quick. And I already did the back of this one, so I don't have to worry about the back. And then I do the back of the small one and let that dry. Okay. Now it's time to start putting our pieces all together. And since I need to go off of this big one, so we will start with our earrings. And these are very simple to do. The very first thing you want to make sure is that you have them lined up properly. So you want to make sure that you have them the opposite. So what I mean by that is, like, here are the two large ones and here are the two large ones that match. So I want to make sure those are facing each other. You could also use the opposite side, but it doesn't, I just prefer it to be even. Then get whatever drill that you like to use. I love this one because it really, it works great, honestly. It really does. It works fantastic. It saves my hand and my wrist. So I am just going to go slightly below my earring. So about right there, because I don't want it being too close to the edge. If I'm too close to the edge, I run the risk of my piece snapping and breaking. And I don't want to go through all that hard work to have my piece destroyed. Then I just go down and go right through. And that's simple. And I always like to go through the back just to make sure it's all nice and clean. And then I will do the same thing on this side. When you are drilling and you're using one of these, make sure you find your location. So here's where I want to put mine. Hold it up straight. Press down on your drill. If you do not press down on your drill while you are drilling, it's going to spin. So I will show you what I mean. So here, I'm not going to press down. And you see how it's not... It's moving. So press down on your actual drill, hold your piece, and then push. And that will assure you that your thing is not going to spin. Your drill is not going to slip. As long as you are putting pressure on your piece, you will, it'll work out nicely. So line it up, push down. And then I like to lift my pieces up. And that side is nice and clean. All right. Next, I want to make sure my jump rings are large enough to go through, because these are thicker earrings and thicker pieces, because I did put a back on them. So whenever you put a back on a piece, if it's a little bit thicker, you're going to have to make sure you have a jump ring that is thick enough to go through, because if it's too small, it's just not going to work. And then I will get my fish hooks. I'm going to take my pliers, hold the bottom here, and then carefully and slowly turn them. If you don't want to do that, get a smaller jump ring to attach. I don't want to add all these jump rings, so I just take my piece, hold it, and slowly turn. Do not do it fast. You will snap it. It will not hold on. It has to be done slowly and carefully to make sure that your piece is not going to snap. This is very thin wire and it will break. All right, so next, find your opening. Get 2 pairs of pliers. Spread them open. Attach it. And then get your hook. And make sure the part that goes in your ear is always facing the back of your earring. And there is one of our earrings. I absolutely love the green and black on this together. And this is so beautiful as well. So now if you want to wear the side that has the silk screen on it, all you have to do is open up your jump rings and swap them. That's all you have to do, like swap the fish hooks. And then this part will show, and then you'll have that. So it's 2 pairs of earrings in one, or just a nice fancy back. And I love doing that with a lot of my earrings. I used to never do that. And the more and more I play with my clay and my resins and all that stuff, my wood earrings, I love to make everything double-sided. I love to make sure that each piece is unique in itself. So here are the earrings. And I think these are just beautiful. Now, let's get our necklace complete. So now this is dry. It's a little, I can see a tiny bit wet there, but that's okay. We can still work with this. And first we want to line all our stuff up and figure out how we are going to lay this piece out. All right, so I know this absolutely is going to be my direction that I want my flower. So now I need to figure out how I want to connect these. And I want everything to be even. So I want these flowers to be even. So I need to make sure that however I lay these, they're going to be even. Or do I want them to come out like this a bit? So play around with your piece a little bit and make sure that it's going to lay exactly how you want it to lay. Okay, so I want to show you. If it's not laying even, so say I have this one over here connected like this, and then I have this one connected up here. You see how that's going to be all wonky? So we need to make sure that our pieces are connected nicely. And I want to make sure, yeah, just like that. There we go. So that's how I am going to connect all my pieces. So what I'm going to do next is carefully, one by one, drill these. So I'm going to kind of keep them all in position. So that was a really nice clean. And you'll see the reason why I leave everything kind of where it is this way. Now I know this and this have to go together. So now I got to kind of line this one up, and I know that's going to go together. So line that up. Make sure everything is connected nicely there. Okay, so now I have that whole side complete. My next step is to start at the top again. And this way, I know everything's going to kind of even itself out then. The entire time I am doing this, I am double checking everything that I did on this side. This way my stuff lays out evenly. This is the only section that will not be even because of the way the petals fall. Everything else should be fairly the same. All right, so now I have that there, and then I have to connect that there. So before I make my last one, I am going to once again line my pieces up, make sure everything is exactly how it needs to be. And then I will take my piece here, line it up, and right there is where I need to drill my hole. This is all a matter of eyeing it up. And that's just basically how I do my pieces. I don't measure anything out. I eye almost all my pieces out. And the last thing we need to do is put connectors here. So I need to drill a hole so I have connectors. And what I like to do is go straight up and find where my middle section is going to be on there. And that's where I will have my connector. Make sure you're keeping everything exactly where it needs to be so you don't lose your place. It's much easier to put everything together exactly the way it's supposed to lay. That way you're not putting the wrong flower on and then it doesn't work out the right way. Okay, so now that's all done. Our next step is to make sure that our jump rings can hold 2 of these flowers together. If not, we need to get a bigger one or get a smaller jump ring to go in between. So I'm going to take this one. I want to open it up and check if I could get 2 flowers in here together. I'm usually pretty good at guessing, but sometimes I'm not. I'm not always correct. I want to make sure that it's movable. It's not hitting the other clay, and that's going to work out beautiful. So now I can move my piece around and start connecting my pieces. And I'm just going to follow suit. You can see I'm just putting the jump ring on and then closing it. So let's see. Open that up a little wider. And let's hope that this one will be large enough. Come on. You don't want to force it. Just kind of wobble it around, see if it'll connect. If not, we're going to have to get a bigger jump ring for this one. Sometimes my jump rings get in the way. because I can't move them. There we go. So just be patient with your pieces. A lot of times they will connect, but there's not room for it to move all the way. So we need to be careful on our connections here. Now, I'm not liking this one here. And the reason I don't like it is if I put that any tighter, my piece is not going to move very nicely. And you see how I ended up having to bend that jump ring? So I am actually going to just open this up, and I'm going to take this one off. And I will get one size larger. So I have different ones here. Now I just got to see which one is just one size larger, because I don't want it overly too big. That one's same size. So this one. This is the one that I'm going to use. I'm going to open it. Put that in. And then make sure I have the correct direction. So I know that this one was in the middle and that's at the top. Make sure you have your top and your middles correctly on there, because it may not lay properly if you don't. And then and there. That's much better. And you won't even take notice that that's a different size. If you cannot get your jump ring to close all the way, a little trick you can do is take it and just keep turning it back and forth, kind of just scooting it, and it naturally closes where it needs to close. Yeah, beautiful that looks on the back. Absolutely gorgeous. Really like that a lot. And then the front, so pretty. All right, so now I just need 2 more and to add our chain. So to measure my chain, what I like to do is I will take my chain, I will wrap it around the back of my neck, and then I kind of lay it down on my chest to see how far I want my pieces to connect. So say this is my neck. I'm going to wrap it around the back. And then I want this to lay in a certain area. That's where I will connect my piece. So I'll take this one and go, okay, this is where I want this piece to be connected. So I need to stop this piece right here. And that's how I will do my pieces. If you want to measure your pieces, go ahead. I mean, I am not one that has to have everything exactly precise, 16 inches, 18 inches, or anything like that. I create all my pieces, and then this is how I measure them out, because sometimes when you measure them, say you want this to be 16 inches long, it's going to be way too long. It's just going to be, because now this here is long. So if you're measuring it by the way that I say, you know that's going to hang exactly where you want it to on your chest. But that you do whatever is easiest for you, or if you're a stickler and really want everything to be precise, go for it. Because I used to do it all the time, but I found a lot of my pieces were either slightly too short or too long by measuring, and I just gave up. I found that that way of doing it was just easier for me. My next step of what I do is I'll take just a little pin, and I will take my 2 bottom pieces here, and then I will make sure that my piece is level. I take another pin and I find my middle, and now I know that's my middle, and that's where I need to cut my chain. So I will take my pliers, cut that off. And now I have two chains that are the same size, or same length, I mean. I will take my jump ring, open it, and then I will connect my chain onto here. And then I will close it. And I have a tiny chain here, or I'm sorry, I have a tiny jump ring. So I will open that up and I will connect that onto the last part of my chain, the last link. And then close that. We're going to do the same thing to this side, but this time we will add our clasp. And connect my clasp. And there is our necklace. So absolutely beautiful. I love putting the resin in the middle. It really makes it sparkle, and I just think it's so pretty. So there we go. So I really hope you guys enjoy creating all these pieces with me. You have two pairs of earrings. You have this gorgeous back. I mean, just absolutely stunning. I love this. And I really hope you guys like it too. And if you did like this video, please like, subscribe, share, and make a comment. It helps me get out there further into the YouTube world. And I will see you guys next for the next project. Bye.